Thank you for tuning into our presentation today. Our aim is to share our practice within the Masters in Applied Sports Coaching here at the University of Limerick to help us evaluate what we are doing and hopefully stimulate some conversation. My name is Phil Kearney, and I will provide an overview of the programme, what we do on the first two modules to evolve coaches' reflective practice.
Hello, I'm Ian Sherwin. I will pick up where Phil leaves off, talking to you about the final stage in the process and showing you how we collaborate on change, and then take you through to the end of this presentation.
The Masters in Applied Sports Coaching is a 2-year part-time programme catering for experienced coaches. The average experience of cohorts ranges from 11 to 15 years. This detail is important. We are dealing with individuals who have a wealth of personal experience to bring to bear on the programme. Our tagline for the course is "Your coaching is the curriculum." That is, the coaches bring their plans, videos of themselves in action, their reviews, into the programme, and that material is then critically examined. That examination is facilitated by the course team and draws upon research, coaches' own experiential knowledge, and the knowledge of guest speakers who deliver case studies, and their peers who are drawn from a diverse range of sports. Our aim is to enhance the effectiveness of coaches on the programme, and reflection is the primary means by which we do that, supported by these 3 knowledge structures. These are experienced coaches. Before they arrived in the programme, they were certainly engaged in reflection to some degree. They are able to identify and discuss appropriate incidents, often in considerable depth. However, even the most experienced coaches realised that there was scope for them to further develop their reflective practice. There was scope for greater depth of questioning. Most prominent of all, there was limited understanding of the spectrum of methods of reflective practice. Of course, there is no one universal best way to reflect, but it was clear that coaches would benefit from developing a broader suite of methods by which they could engage with their experiences. Here you have a couple of quotations from a coach on the programme, and I'll read them out in case anyone is just listening to this. Coaches I've worked with have always said to me, "Do you ever stop thinking?" But I have never consciously structured or recorded a reflection. And in relation to a structured reflective piece that he wrote on the programme, he later described how "I never felt I put this incident to bed until now." So how do we go about developing this reflective practice? The first year of the programme is designed to progressively refine coaches' reflective practice through 3 stages. The first stage, understanding coaching, peers, and self, uses limited structure and open questions to raise awareness and encourage honest conversations, laying the groundwork for later stages. It's a 2-fold process. Research and a case study provide a lens, and then the coaches present on their context in light of that research and case study. Multiple cycles of this provide the broad structure for the module. We examine the coach's environment, their relationship stories, video of their practice behaviours. There are no formal models of reflection here in this first module, just description and general questions. What do you do? Why do you do it? Evaluation comes naturally within the group presentations and discussions, and to an extent, reflection also. But we don't emphasize formal reflection yet. We just structure sharing and richness in description. We have 2 years on a part-time program. We can build trust, get comfortable sharing, build an eagerness to know more. Our explicit focus is primarily on understanding what coaching is. Secondarily, on learning about our peers, what they do and why they do it. Understanding the self is largely implicit for now, but we are building the groundwork to explore further. Experimenting with reflection focuses on the why, what, and how of reflection by exploring a range of individual and group structures and techniques from sport and other domains to help coaches derive a suite of reflective tools. The module starts by sharing examples of previous reflective practice. Coaches start to realize the extent to which they've been using a broad range of methods or not, and the extent to which they've been reflecting on a broad range of topics or not. The emphasis is on trying different things, experimenting, and through that experimentation, gaining a better understanding of the process of reflection. And so we experiment over short and longer timescales and with a variety of structured or less structured methods. And we reflect as individuals and also as a group. Coaches have a period of time within a community of practice, but even here the emphasis is on exploration. After reading research on communities of practice and engaging with case studies in communities of practice, the coaches design and operate their own process on their own choice of topics, but once again with that key idea of exploring how we make communities of practice work as a vehicle for reflection. Our goal is for coaches to finish the module with a suite of reflective techniques, albeit still under development, that they are ready to apply to develop their coaching. As an example, one of the methods that we introduce coaches to is the critical decision method. It's a particularly valuable method because it structures a really deep dive into a specific incident, because it's undertaken collaboratively, and the incidents genuinely arouse interest. Coaches are ready for this deep dive in each other's company because, over the previous module and the early stages of this module, we've slowly built up to this. Here's an example of the result. It was the delving into that. First delving in, and then you go back in, you create your timeline, and then you dig a little deeper and you probe with questions. And there were some really shrewd questions. As we went through the piece, and as certain things got mentioned, I could actually feel the emotions that I had at the time coming back to the surface. And they came back probably even stronger than I thought they would have done. It opened up my mind to a different level of questioning, which I hadn't thought of. And that was really, really useful. An important part of the journey is reflecting on reflection. To help us do that, this year we had Dr. Margaret Graham provide her perspective on reflection and how to develop reflective practitioners within a nursing context. A very different perspective, to be sure, but one that gave coaches another way of looking at how and why they reflect, and helped them think about the changes that they had enacted in their practice and experimented with in their practice over the course of the semester.
The final stage of the process is collaborating on change and sees the coaches work in teams on how they reflect. Whilst we will always be learning about reflection, in this step we try to get coaches to apply their learning from previous modules, experimenting with different methods where the focus is on using reflection to enhance one aspect of their practice. In our coach and athlete development module, the coaches are working in a small group, acting as coach, consultant, and then adding in a mentor. In each role, the students must reflect on the knowledge they have acquired from a coaching environment and use it to build a strategy of change within their coaching practice. We use a collaborative task for the coaches to reflect on their existing roles and responsibilities and ask them to explain with examples from their current coaching practice how they meet the criteria if they were applying for a job. We use real job advertisements like this one here, a player development coach with the Philadelphia 76ers basketball team. This necessitates a deep reflection on their current practice and how it can be applied in a new setting. Another reflective task is for the coaches to look into the future to when they are retiring and write the job description to recruit the ideal person who would take over their current coaching role. This type of reflection helps the coach to plan ahead and have a vision of how to move forward with their current athlete or athletes. So to recap, here's our process. The first step is to focus on the subject and sharing and the implicit promotion of reflection. There's minimal structure, but we work in trying to understand the coaching with our peers and within ourselves. The next step is to focus on lots of different ways of reflecting, the variation in what to reflect on, how to reflect, who to reflect with. This helps to develop a suite of tools and an understanding of when to implement each tool. And then the final step is to make sure that we apply these tools and put them to work and make sure that we can operate to collaborate with each other on some change. So is it working? Our first cohort of students are just coming to the end of their 2-year part-time course, so we're at a really exciting time. We're now looking carefully at how we are evaluating this 3-step process. We'd be very keen to hear your ideas on how we might develop this process further. For example, how do you evaluate the effectiveness of your processes for enhancing reflective practice? You can see our contact details are below: philip.kearney@ul.ie and ian.sherwin@ul.ie, and we would welcome, as always, your feedback, comments and questions. Thank you very much for your attention.